Two things are true no matter what. One, there are fewer creators than consumers, and two, if you're watching this, you're likely a creator. Today, I'll define both of these, then we're gonna look at three people in tech who I feel 100% get the value of creating and consuming, and they are changing the game in software and AI. I'll tell you what they have in common, and at the end, I have a very specific ask if you're watching this, and it'll be based on those first four. So let's clear up something. This is part one. By creator, I mean someone who's making something. You're building a product, inventing something. The definition is flexible, but that's creators. On the other end, there's people using the thing, consuming it, consumers. The ratio between creators and consumers, especially in tech, is probably higher than you'd imagine, especially at scale. Spotify artists versus listeners, YouTube creators versus people watching stuff, software developers versus people who use software. But why I'm making this video is because not everything is as it seems. Why did he wait so long to get to that hook, and why is it so contrived? I didn't, and it's not. There's a way we look at it, and then there's an actual reality here, because if you're convinced you're just creating or someone else is just consuming, I would seriously challenge you to think about why a hybrid approach of both of these things is almost always preferable. Enter Nick St. Pierre. If you don't know Nick, you should know Nick. He has absolutely blown up in the AI space, especially with Midjourney. And what's interesting is he's not an app developer. He's not a traditional founder, especially in the Silicon Valley sense. That's because Nick is an artist. If you think of Twitter, if you think of X as a lot of people kind of sharing random thoughts, you'd be right. And we can argue that anyone who posts anything on anything is essentially creating. But Nick has absolutely blown up because of a very good reason. Two, actually. One, he is a creator first. He is creating stuff. He's creating art constantly, especially with AI tools. And he is sharing those learnings publicly. That's not just valuable. That's the whole ballgame. He's creating tremendous value and learnings for others by creating stuff and sharing it. But two, the second reason is he's an avid consumer. He's constantly asking questions and reading stuff and scrolling through literally anything to soak up as much knowledge and experience as he can. And that is just as important as creation. Nick is both a creator and a consumer, and that is what makes him such a good creator. At Nick Floats on X, you're probably already following him, but if you're not, go do that. So that is Nick. Up next is Adam Lisagor. And I've been a fan of Adam and Sandwich for the longest time. And for those who don't know, if you're in tech and you have a startup, the hardest thing to crack, arguably as hard as building the thing, is nailing your go-to-market execution, specifically your story. Adam and Sandwich, they create the best explainers and commercials on the planet, but they do it, they're so successful, this is one of Adam's absolute superpowers. They do this by deeply understanding the founders and the market. Anyone can create a video. I'm making one right now, but in their case, most of the time, like 99% of the time, they are not the ones building the startup or the app that's featured in each video. Just like Nick, Sandwich contributes pretty massively, not because they create the products they're talking about. They instead create something that brings those products to market. And everyone who's seen Sandwich's productions, trust me, if you're in tech, you've seen their work. Everyone knows that they storytell like nobody else. They clearly have an eye and an ear for great storytelling, and that comes from watching and listening to and reading, consuming the very best stuff out there. Then they turn it around and create some of the best commercials in the world. That's Adam and Sandwich. Finally, my favorite person on this list, probably because I hired this person, have spent more time with this person, and just generally love everything about this person, we have Emily Lynetto. A name so nice, they named her twice. Is not something I'd say about her name, because that makes no sense. Emily, in addition to being the smartest product growth mind I have ever interacted with, is Webflow's Director of Community and Agency Marketing, a title that, in addition to being, count it, 15 syllables long, means she oversees some of Webflow's biggest, certainly farthest reaching efforts in the world. And Emily's often framed this, what we're talking about, creators, consumers, as builders versus optimizers. In tech, some people are great at building a thing, others are great at optimizing and getting the most out of that thing. But if you look at what Emily's done, not even with her whole career, I'm just talking the last couple years at Webflow, she has completely transformed and given space for the Webflow community to thrive. She internally, within Webflow, she advocates for customers. So does her team, by the way. Every single day, they fight for what Webflow's customers want and need. Is she going in and writing the code for that thing that does the other thing? No, that's Federico, number 3 in Muscles, number 1 in Smile, and number 6 in worldwide engineers that do some of the most innovative creative development out there. But you can't just say Emily is building or optimizing, that she's just creating or consuming. She's doing all of this. Her work in community is about listening and reading and learning and having conversations, then turning that into action in really profound ways. And that doesn't just change the course of an entire multi-billion-dollar tech company led by the Vladimir we do like, but her work ends up changing the course of hundreds of thousands of customers who use the very thing she and her team advocate for. That's Emily. So what is the common thread? Well, it's 2024 and no one can agree on anything. It's really easy to label good versus bad and creator versus consumer, but there's something profound in embracing nuance here. Nick, who's dramatically affecting not just how we view AI, but the art space. Nick is both a consumer and a creator. He's learning and he's sharing. Adam and Sandwich are turning startups into rocket ships, not because they possess advanced knowledge in propulsion or thermodynamics, but because they've built a business on listening and understanding founders and tech in general, so that the consuming they do can serve the creation of some of the best commercials in the world. And Emily Linetto isn't just listening. Her team isn't just passively learning. They're engaging. They're influencing, they're advocating. Now, if you find yourself consuming a lot of content, especially if you're hard on yourself about this, ask yourself this: how is that content shaping you? How can you turn that into something that helps you contribute? It doesn't have to be a product or a book or anything for money. It can be friendships. It can be your family. It can be something for yourself. The point is, none of us are exclusively creators or consumers, and anyone who tells you otherwise should be treated with about as much skepticism as someone who would mislead you into thinking that Director of Community and Agency Marketing has only 15 syllables. It does, but that skepticism you just felt is a good thing and a muscle almost all of us need to build. Now, if you know someone who's working on making something, reach out to them. Ask them how it's going. You might be surprised by their answer. And if you know someone who seems like they just like to consume content or games or whatever, if it seems like they consume content full time, ask them what they like. It's easy to judge and not see the complete picture because that one conversation might lead somewhere very different than you might expect. So now I have an ask. Share what you're working on, something you're building or making or growing, but also share what you're absorbing, the consumer side. It can be a TV show or a book or a course or an album or someone's entertaining tweets, because that's the stuff that can energize and inform the very best things we create. Thanks, everyone.